In this video, I'm going to show you one part of a 6-part course that I have created, which is talking about how to mix EDM drums. Now, the part that I have chosen is the drum bus processing part. And the reason being is it shows you the before and after. And I wanted to just give away this one part because it doesn't give too much away, but it shows you just how the course is constructed and how I show you how to do things and how I'm talking about things. And it really gives you an in-depth insight into what the course kind of structure is. So the structure of the course is how to set up a mix, kick bus processing, clap bus processing, hi-hat bus processing, the cymbal processing, and drum bus processing. In the download includes over 2 hours of video footage, as well as stems and reference files. Now, the reason the stems are downloadable is what I want people to do is download the stems, follow the course, and learn as you go. Take on all the information that you're learning, but then also with the stems, you can then apply the processing in your own time using the stems that I'm using in the mix. Now, the reason this is good is because the best way to learn, and I stand by this, the best way to learn is to actually get hands-on and do it. Download the stems, use the stems, process using your own plugins, your own workflow, set the session up exactly the same. Reference to the reference files. At each point, you can reference to the reference files and check to see if your processing that you're applying is matching up with the processing that I've applied. This is the thing. By working this way, you are able to learn how to get from A to B. Now, I can teach you how to get from A to B and show you how to get from A to B, but the best way to learn is for you to understand how you get from A to B by doing it yourself. And understanding that means that when you move from track to track to track, you can apply the processing on one track. Then you can take it over to the next track and you actually know how to do the processing using your own plugins and your own workflow. Now we're going to go into the fun part, which is the drum bus processing. Over the drum bus, we have the Carnaby HE2, which is our saturation. We have the West Audio Tube EQ, and we also have the West Audio NG bus comp. The reason I'm going to use the Carnaby HE2, and I'm going to use it in mid-side, and that's the first tool that I'm going to actually process over the drum bus. And the reason I'm using that is when we use it in mid-side, in the mid, which is our basically straight down the middle mono signal, we have 3 bands, low, mid, and high. The low band is going to catch the kick. The mid band is going to catch the clap. And the high band is going to catch the clap and the hi-hats. Then the sides in the high band and the mid band, they're going to catch the sides of the cymbal. So we can really use this Carnaby HE2 to shape the sound and create more of a tonal kind of, we can add some more aggression to it. We can add some kind of weight into the low end. And we can generally just add this lovely sparkle to the overall drum mix. So let's start processing with the Carnaby HE2. Now, if we listen here, A to B, before and after, you can hear just how much of an enhancement the HE2 has made. by just using those three bands to catch those three elements of the drum mix. So the kick has a little bit more weight into it. The mids have more of there's the clap has more presence. We've added like this kind of sheen to the clap. The hi-hats now sparkle and shine through, and the cymbals now sound beautiful and wide. So what I'll do is I'll A to B bypass the unit and show you just how much difference this has made. It's really brought that drum mix to life. So now I'm going to apply the bus compression. Now, the reason I'm applying the bus compression first, before the EQ, is I'm going Carnaby HE2, then into the EQ, then into the bus compression. But what I want to do is I want to set the bus compression. So I've got that bus compression that I want, and then I'm going to use the EQ to then tailor what's going into the bus comp. So I can, if I feel like the bus comp is kind of sucking a bit of the life out of the low end, I can introduce more low end using the EQ, and I can really tailor what is getting fed into that bus comp using the West Audio Tube EQ. So we'll start with the bus comp and apply some bus compression. So a few things I've done there. I'm using the compression quite subtle. I'm not massively compressing that drum mix. I've also used parallel compression by using the wet dry mix. So what that means is I basically fed a dry signal and a wet signal side by side, basically exactly the same as parallel compression. I've also added some sidechain, and the sidechain is up to 60 hertz, and that is just to let the compressor breathe a bit more. If I play you this now, if I play you this drum mix and I'll turn the sidechain compression, the sidechain filter off. If I turn the sidechain off, you'll hear that the compressor feels like it's working harder, and it's slightly over compressed. So here's what it sounds like with 60 hertz sidechain on. So now what I'll do is I'll show you the drum mix with the bus compression on and off. Now you'll notice that the drums glue together a lot nicer. There's more body in the mix now. There's a certain level of control that the bus compression's done. And look, bear in mind, I'm using parallel compression. I'm letting some of that dry signal still come through. So next, let's look at the EQ, and we'll add the tube EQ. I'm going to put this into stereo. I'm going to add the tube EQ, and I'm gonna drive the tubes a little bit, because I'm gonna get a little bit of a warmer sound out of it, and then I'm gonna add some processing, and you'll see exactly what I'm doing up on the screen here. Now, a great feature that the tube EQ has is I can have either tube EQ or I can go with a clean output. So what I'll do quickly is I'll just show you the difference the tube EQ and running through real tubes can make. And you'll see here, there's a lot more weight. There's a kind of a rounder sound to the drum mix. So the tubes really bring that drum mix to life. Last thing we're going to do is add FabFilter Pro Q3 to the end of the chain. Now, all I want to do with this is I want to remove anything below about 20 hertz, so we haven't got any of that rumble down in the sub frequencies. I also want to ensure that my low end is mono, so I'm going to roll off the sides in the low end up to around 180 hertz. Now, you might not hear much of a difference there, but what I hear is that the low end has become a lot more tighter. The low end feels more powerful, and overall, the low end sounds. What would be the best way to explain it? A little bit more punchier. It's just more controlled, and this is such a subtle setting, just rolling off from around 20 hertz, and also just making sure that that low end from 0 to 180 hertz is in mono. So let me just play this, and I'll bypass jump between on and off. Now, that's super subtle. It's really subtle, but you can hear a definite difference there. So lastly, let's now listen to this drum mix with the rest of the instruments in the mix, and we'll rebalance a couple of things and see if we can bring out the hi-hats a bit more, or if they need to come down, or if the cymbals need to come down a bit. But we'll balance that mix now, and whilst we've got the instruments playing. there we have the finished drum mix. And what I'll just quickly do is I have the reference here of the unprocessed drum mix and the unprocessed full mix. So we'll reference backwards and forwards to show you what it sounded like before the processing and what it sounds like now we've applied all this processing. So first of all, here we have the drum mix. So we'll mute the instruments and we'll just play the drum mix. Now, this is the drum mix before. I mean, it's night and day, isn't it? It really is. The difference is just like, it's night and day difference. One sounds dull, it sounds muddy, it sounds, you know, there's a lot of kind of clashing frequencies there. Whereas the other one sounds, every sound you can pick out and you can isolate. You can isolate the kick, you can isolate that clap, you can isolate the hi-hats, and you can isolate the cymbals. That's what a good drum mix sounds like. Next, what I'll do is I've got also a reference here of the full mix. So this is the full mix I'm going to play. So the first file I'm going to play is the full mixed unprocessed, and then I'm going to turn on the full mix with all processing active. So if you enjoyed that part of the course, there's a link in the description where you can download the full 2-hour content as well as the stems and the reference files.